If you hear this story about Jesus Christ, I'm not sure if you will believe it. I am not a theologian. I am not a pastor. I am just someone who once stood out, then was pulled out of the darkness by his own light. What I am about to tell you is not a sermon, but a journey, a real journey, a journey that changed my soul forever. It all began on a gloomy afternoon in Judea, when I was a boy standing among a dusty crowd drawn by a whisper, "Jesus is coming." At that time, I didn't know what awaited me. I had only heard about a man whose eyes could see right through your soul, whose voice made even his opponents fall silent. And then I saw him. No throne, no guards, just an old cloak, bare feet, but a face shining in a strange, radiant way. People crowded closer, some wept, some trembled. I stood frozen as if petrified. Jesus looked toward me. I swear his eyes met mine, and my heart raced wildly. No words were spoken, but I felt as if he was saying to me, "Follow me." You may not believe it, but from that moment I was no longer the same child. I began to follow his every step. Wherever he went, strange things happened. The blind saw, the lame walked, the dead came back to life. But it was not only the miracles. What puzzled me most was the strange peace that radiated from him. Amid the chaos of that time, among Roman soldiers, scheming political groups, religious divisions, friends, he stood there like a rock solid and unmoved in the swirling waters. Please subscribe to the channel if you have ever heard about the Lord, or if you have never truly felt him, because what I'm about to tell next might change the way you see this world. One day in the small town of Cana, I witnessed the first miracle. A wedding, the wine ran out, shame spread everywhere. Then his mother, Mary, whispered something, and he told the servants to fill jars with water. You know the story, right? Water turned into wine. But what I want you to know is not how good the wine was. It was the look on the young couple's faces when they saw it, like new life had been breathed into their hearts. That was when I understood. Jesus didn't just come to heal illness, but to restore honor, to restore faith, to restore broken humanity. I followed him to Galilee, then Samaria, then even to Gentile lands. Some threw water on him, some threw stones. Some crowds cheered, then months later those same crowds shouted, "Crucify him." But wherever he went, he did not change. I heard him say so many times, "I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Does that shock you? It shocked me. I was a sinner. I was someone who wants to run away from everything holy, yet he chose to come near people like me. If you're still watching, perhaps you too have some cracks in your heart. I invite you to hit subscribe because I have not finished telling. Not yet. There are many things that happened in the days following him. Once, when we were crossing the Sea of Galilee, a storm suddenly struck. The boat rocked, waves slammed our faces, water rose to our ankles. We thought we were going to die. But Jesus, he was sleeping, in the middle of the storm. We shouted, woke him. Then, with a voice full of authority, he said, "Be quiet, be still." And the sea calmed as if it had never been stirred. I trembled, not because of the waves, but because for the first time I understood. We were walking with one whom even nature obeys. That was just a small part of that journey. Every step with him was a new discovery of love, sacrifice, and mercy beyond words. Are you still here? Thank you. And if you feel this story touches your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow the next parts. Because I promise you, the most shocking part has yet to come. I remember that day clearly. The sun was scorching overhead, and the crowd was so huge that you couldn't hear your own voice unless you shouted. We followed him to the foot of a hill where a group was carrying a stretcher. On it lay a man completely lifeless. I had seen death. I had seen bodies dragged by Roman soldiers in the streets. But the face of this man was not like a corpse. It was the face of someone forgotten, eyes tightly shut, skin pale, and despair surrounding those carrying him. They begged Jesus, not in words, just sobbing sounds. And do you know what happened? Jesus did not touch him immediately. He said nothing. Instead, he bent down quietly, placed his hand on the man's forehead, and whispered only one sentence, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Immediately, the crowd erupted. They whispered, "Who allows him to forgive sins? Only God has that authority." I swear to you, the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. But then Jesus turned around, eyes fearless, not angry, but understanding, and he continued, this time louder, "So that you may know the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. I tell you, rise." Take your bed and walk." Can you believe it? That man opened his eyes, then pushed himself up, then stood up, as if he had never been bedridden for years. The crowd fell silent as if time stopped for a few seconds. Then a roar, not of fear, but of amazement, faith, and the unmistakable presence of the divine in everyday life. If you're still watching, please hit subscribe. Not to make me famous, but because you need to continue following this story. Because I have never told anyone what comes next. We continued following him to other towns. Sometimes just a few people followed, sometimes thousands. But nowhere did I see a more astonishing miracle than in Magdala, the hometown of a woman you might have heard of, Mary Magdalene. She was unlike the others. No one said it outright, but the looks from the people said it all. She is dirty. She is possessed. Don't go near her. I saw her from afar, hair tangled, trembling like someone with malaria, eyes like a soulless person. But when she came near Jesus, something in the air changed. You might think I imagined it, but the whole space seemed to hold its breath. Then she knelt down, said nothing, asked nothing, just cried. Jesus bent down. No need for many words. He just reached out, placed his hand on her shoulder, and said gently, like a breeze, "Woman, you are freed from what binds you." She fell as if shocked by electricity. I, along with many others, panicked, thinking she was dead. But then she opened her eyes. And do you know what the first thing I saw in those eyes was? Light. Not the kind of light in an excited person's eyes, but the kind of light that appears only when a soul has just been redeemed. Since that day, Maria followed us. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew. She was no longer the woman who had been scorned. She became a living witness to the power of restoration that God grants to those rejected by the world. One day, Jesus took us up a desolate mountain. I didn't understand what he intended to do, but then the unimaginable happened. He prayed, but not the kind of prayer you see in a church, not memorized words or rituals. It was a true conversation between the Father and the Son, and when he lifted his face, I couldn't believe my eyes. His face began to shine brilliantly, not metaphorically, but real light. His robe was pure white, as if woven from lightning. I was terrified. I trembled, and then 2 people appeared beside him. I don't know how I recognized them, but I was certain they were Moses and Elijah, 2 great figures from ancient times. I collapsed. I couldn't stand. A voice thundered from heaven, "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." Have you ever heard a voice from heaven? I have. And I was never the same after that moment. I know what you're thinking. Maybe it sounds unbelievable. Maybe you think I'm making it up, but I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I heard it with my own ears. And if I kept silent, even the stones would cry out. We kept going, towards places that grew more and more dangerous. Many people began to oppose us. The priests conspired. Threats whispered in the shadows. But Jesus, he did not turn back. Every step led toward Jerusalem, as if he knew exactly what awaited him. Can you feel it? The tension rising, like a storm approaching, and everything is just the calm before the tempest. I feel it every day. But at the same time, I also feel something else, a faith, a burning, strong, unshakable faith. If you are still watching this far, I invite you with all my heart to subscribe to the channel. Come back to hear more. Because what's about to happen, I'm sure you will never forget. Jerusalem, the holy city where every prayer seemed to reach straight to heaven, and also where blood had soaked through countless centuries. As we entered that city, I felt a chill run down my spine, even though the sun was shining brightly above. People laid down their cloaks on the ground, holding branches and shouting, "Hosanna! The Son of David is coming." I thought this was the climax. I thought finally he would be crowned king. But no, Jesus' eyes remained calm. He was not joyful. He did not wave to the crowd. He looked at Jerusalem and cried. He cried. I had never seen a man cry like that, not because he was beaten, not because he was in pain, but because of love for a city about to reject the one who came to save it. A few days later, in a small prepared room, we sat around together. I did not know then it was the Last Supper, as it would later be called. At that time, it was just a strange meal. Jesus said words I did not understand. "One of you will betray me." We were confused, looking at each other. No one thought it could be themselves, but then I saw Jesus' eyes resting on Judas. And Judas quietly stood up and left. Not long after, in the pitch black night at the Garden of Gethsemane, I witnessed the strangest thing. Jesus, the one who calmed the wind and waves, who called the dead to life, now knelt down, sweating drops like blood, begging, "Father, if possible, take this cup away from me, but not my will, but yours be done." My heart shattered. He who feared not pain, feared separation from the Father. I used to think he was invincible. But it turned out he also knew pain, fear, loneliness, just like me, just like you, and that made me love him more than ever. The clanging of swords, torches flashing in the dark, Roman soldiers swarmed like wolves, and leading them was Judas. He approached Jesus and kissed his cheek, a kiss of betrayal. I wanted to draw my sword, to strike, to protect him. Someone cut off a soldier's ear, but Jesus stopped it, touched the wound, and healed the very man who arrested him. Who does that? Who heals the one who will nail them to a cross? They tied him up, led him away, and I ran away. I was ashamed. I was cowardly. I fled like a child. Though I had promised to follow him to death, I turned my back just when he needed me most. That night, as I huddled in the courtyard of the high priest, a girl recognized me. "You were with Jesus too, weren't you?" I was startled, denied it. Another pointed at me. "You're from Galilee. Your accent sounds just like it." I swore. I shouted, "I don't know the man." And right then, the rooster crowed. I turned around and I saw Jesus being led past. He turned his head. That gaze, oh Lord, that gaze was not blaming, not angry, just sad, sad to the bone. I burst into tears. Wept like never before. I had betrayed him like so many others, like Judas, like all of us. The next morning, they brought Jesus before the people, beaten, spat upon, crowned with thorns, and then nailed to the cross. I cannot tell all that happened on Golgotha, not because I don't remember, but because every time I do, my heart breaks into pieces. I saw him lifted onto the wood. I saw blood drip from his hands to the ground. I heard him say, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Who can say that in such extreme agony? The sky darkened, rocks split, the temple veil was torn in two, and then Jesus breathed his last. Everything ended. I returned to my room, shut the door tight. The night stretched on endlessly. We had no hope, no future. The one we believed to be the Savior was dead, buried in a tomb, sealed, finished. But 3 days later, a woman came knocking, out of breath. "He's not there anymore. The tomb is empty." We ran there, saw the tomb open, saw the burial cloth folded neatly. No one could understand. And then he appeared, not as a ghost, not as a hallucination, but in flesh and bone. He let me touch the nail wounds. He ate fish with us. He looked at me and called my name, Simon. He did not say traitor, did not call me coward. He called my name, as on the first day we met. I had seen him die, and I had seen him rise again. I no longer doubted, I no longer feared. He was not only a miracle worker, not only a teacher, he is the Son of the living God, the one who conquered death, the King above all kings. And he didn't just rise for me, but for you. If you have watched this far, thank you. Not because you believe me, but because you have opened your heart. I don't know what you're going through. Maybe you are hurting, lost, afraid, but I tell you this, with all my life, Jesus lives, and he is calling you just as he called me, that amid that dusty crowd all those years ago. Do you hear him? Follow him. If anything touches your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this story with someone who needs a miracle in their life.